Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my kitchen and welcome to our first, virtual Zoom class. And I have to say, I'm an old-fashioned cook. I cook like my grandmother. I don't use measurements. So Masapan would be one of the few things I can demonstrate because it's so precise and measured. So, and just a little history of Masapan is short. Masapan, actually there are two versions of the original Masapan. One is, it started from China, went through Silk Road to Middle East and then Spain. And the second version that started in Spain. Either way, we picked it up, Sephardim Jews picked it up. For one thing, it was part, they could have it after meals. And also, it's a Passover, It's great for Pesach. In fact, in Iran, it's a traditional Passover dessert. And either way, we picked it up, made it our own, and we serve it in every celebration, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, weddings, brit milas. And I just love it. I used to cook it like the old-fashioned way. It was messy and a little, sticky. But Mary Alchek told me there's a better way of making it without cooking. God bless her. And I think I've made thousands of them, really. I think I cut thousands Masapan in little diamond shapes since. So
I don't need your measuring cup.
Here we go. And we need really a Cuisinart. I've used other food processors. It doesn't really ground it as well. The better the sharper your blade, the smoother your Masapan. In fact, I have a Cuisinart only for Masapan. I don't have it with me because all our items are still here. We haven't moved our stuff in, but it's, your blade. I had to order a new blade for this, my old Cuisinart, so I could pick Masapan with it. Anyway, so we start with 8 ounce, which is, by the way, I buy my slivered almonds from Trader Joe's. One bag is a perfect size measurement. It's 2 cups or 8 ounce. And it's easy. You don't have to measure it. You just open it and dump it in your food processor, which is great. And then, by the way, when I received the recipe, it was the old-fashioned way that you use 1 tall glass of almonds and 1 tall glass of tall drinking glass of powdered sugar, which translates to 8 ounce or 2 cups. And your powdered sugar is 1 cup and 1/3 of a cup. I sometimes use less sugar because, Masapan is so tasty, you don't have to have so much sugar. So actually, I'm just going to use 1/3 of a cup. You just toss it, dump it in your food processor. And Carol, if you want to mute me when I run my food processor because it gets pretty loud. So that's 1 cup and 1/3 of a cup. And
Jamila, I'll leave it on just so that if you talk, people can still hear you. It's okay.
It's going to be a little loud, but okay. So if everybody is where I am, just put the 2, ingredients, sugar, powdered sugar, and almonds in your food processor, and just run it. You're going to run it a lot longer than you think you should run it because it has to be super, super fine powder. And it takes about, I would say, 4 to 5 minutes sometimes. So I'm going to start. Okay. You can kind of shake it so, and make sure it's clear. You clean your bowl a little bit, and you don't want the powdered sugar stuck to the bowl of the food processor because once you get it out, then that white powder stays on your Masapan. You don't want that. So you make sure it's clean and clear. check, you know, if your blade is super sharp, it doesn't take as long to really powder it just fine, but it needs a little longer. It's hard to tell. Oh, I forgot to mention something. I like to actually cover my food processor when I start so the powdered sugar doesn't fly all over. That should do it. So once that's done, I shake my food processor so all the powder, the almond flour and sugar are kind of not stuck. And then now you get your egg white. You know, you don't want to if your egg is super large, then your masapan can be a little soft and sticky. So a medium size really egg is perfect. And you check, you also check, my God, this is a good egg. You take the egg yolk out. Okay. Well, my egg yolk broke. That's first time probably ever.
Jamila, I have a question for you from some people.
Yes.
There are a couple questions that I can't answer.
Okay.
One is, will someone be okay using just 1 cup of sugar?
Yes. As I
Okay.
said, you know, I use less sugar, but that's the original recipe because I like my masapan less sweet.
Okay,
Because
and then there's another question of, can you use almond flour?
No, if you start with almond flour, your masapan comes out grainy. It makes a difference. Plus,
And then the other question is, so is it supposed to be like a fine baking flour when you're done mixing it?
yes, really
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Really fine. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So my egg yolk broke, my first egg. Very strange, but okay. Okay, then we have our egg white. And by the way, before I put the egg white in, I like to add a little cardamom to just a little. And you like to do that when it's still dry, before you put your egg white in. So I just add literally like I would say 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom, but if you don't like cardamom.
One more question, Jamila, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Can it be processed too long? Like, can you process it too
No,
long,
no.
or it doesn't matter?
No, in fact, the longer the better. Because if you have the sugar in there, your almond will not get sticky and oily. So you can process it, in fact, 5 more minutes and it's still the same.
And then does it have to be raw almonds?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It has to be raw almonds.
And will it work in a blender?
No.
Okay, and then how much cardamom did you say?
I'm
I'm just reading questions.
Okay, no, I put like 1/4 teaspoon. You can put more or less. I just like it just enough so it gives a little, you can't even taste it, you just, you know, it's very subtle.
All right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. No,
No,
that's okay. No, that's the whole point. That's the whole, you know, purpose of this class. So we start running our food processor. As it's running, you pour your egg white. And I like to add a little rose water. I know not everybody likes rose water, just a little bit, like tiny couple drops. And you let it run until it forms a ball, like a dough. And it has to run for quite a while.
Jamila, can you hear me? Can you use a sugar substitute?
Pardon me? Oh,
are you able to use a sugar substitute?
Sugar substitutes are usually a little grainy. It makes it, I'm sure you could, but I'm sure it's gonna make your masapan not super smooth and buttery. But you know what? If I guess that's okay. I don't, because it's a little too grainy. Usually they're grainy. make sure I move it around a little bit. Okay. Huh. Murphy's Law. Okay, let me see why it's not turning today. Okay. I think my egg was smaller than I usually use. So that even a little like quarter of a tablespoon of water makes a difference. It's stuck, it's not turning, and that's super unusual, but okay. Okay, it's where it should be. So what you do then, you take some, a large piece of saran paper, saran wrap, and you turn over your marzipan on it. Okay. And then I usually kind of like a dough, like a bread dough, just put it together and squeeze it and make a disc out of it. So this is, you know.
Jamila, can you please describe how it should feel?
Okay, that's what I'm gonna, if you know what a tart dough or a kind of a it should be soft like I'll show it to you so you know. It actually, once you run your food processor long enough, it becomes a kind of forms a dough, like a soft, you know. So
it should feel like Play-Doh?
Yes, sort of, yes. A little softer than Play-Doh, but yes, that's exactly, you know, what it feels like. Usually I wrap it and refrigerate it for a half hour because you run the food processor for so long, it gets warm and it's hard to roll. So usually you make your disc and let it sit for a couple minutes even, you know. So because of my egg white not being as much as I would, you know, it wasn't enough, I had to run my food processor longer, so it got really warm. Usually I take it off within 5 minutes, I can roll it. So I have to explain as far as the flavoring. You know, I know some people don't like, you know, rose water. I love it, but a lot of people don't like it. You can really add a couple drops of vanilla if that's what you like. Some people like orange blossom water, but please, whatever you do, don't add almond extract. I just feel almond extract takes away from almond. It gives it a really artificial flavor. That's why I can never buy, you know, Masapan. And I think actually it may be like a German version, you know, that it came from, you know. So almond extract is not needed. It's tasty enough that you don't need that. But rose water, cardamom, orange blossom, even vanilla really, you know, would be great. So once you do that, you can refrigerate it or freeze this for a few months. You just have to take it out of freezer and let it thaw for about 25 minutes to a half hour before you can roll it. I always have a few of these in my freezer because I like to use it for a whole bunch of things, you know. I use it to line my pumpkin pie between the crust and the filling. It's soup, you put a thin layer and it's delicious. You can't tell what it is, but it adds so much to your pumpkin pie. Jordan wouldn't have a pumpkin pie without a Masapan lining or anything else. You can use it for anything, really. So anyways, so I'm gonna roll it. I'm gonna put this aside. Actually, because mine is a lot warmer than it should have been because of my egg white. I made one earlier today, which was perfect. My egg was a little larger. And I can roll this in a couple of minutes, but it's a little too warm now. So I'm gonna wash my hands before I roll it. Sorry about that. Just wanna make sure. A couple tips. If you need to make more than one recipe, you know, even when I make it at EB's for events at synagogue, we have a very large food processor. You really cannot, and I've tried it, that's why I'm saying it. You can't use more than 2 recipes, like 16 ounces. It just doesn't turn out. So I used to make 2 bags, and then you really need to wash your food processor clean and dry it before you use it. If it's sticky, your next batch is not going to turn out at all. So you use your food processor, wash it, dry it, and make your next batch. And it's really important, otherwise it won't turn out. So, so now let's see. Can roll. And if you don't want to, sometimes I don't put rose water in the food processor. I just I just put a little on my hand, just tiny bit, when I'm rolling it. So that way you get a very subtle flavor. Another thing is, your knife should be very clean when you're cutting your masapan, because if it's not clean, it doesn't make a really nice, clean cut. And so I always have a wet towel and wipe my knife clean as needed. So that's what we're gonna do here. Is everybody okay with cutting it, or should we wait for, a couple minutes? So, okay. And oh, I just threw my, usually you should cover your, the part that's, you cut portion at a time, and make sure you're, it's the leftover is covered with saran wrap, otherwise it gets dried out. So,
Jamila, we have a question while you're doing that.
Yes.
Would this work with pistachios or with a mix of
yes,
almond and pistachios?
Pistachio is my favorite. I've made it with pistachio many times. I love it. Exact same recipe I use. And it's, actually I put less sugar in pistachio for sure, because it's just, that flavor is so strong. And it's, yeah, for sure. I haven't made it with any other nuts. I know in Mexico, they make it with peanut butter. With peanuts. And I bought it. There's a kosher version, actually. I think it's a Rose brand. The Rose brand with a picture of a rose, they have peanut marzipan. So anyways, so here I roll it. I'm gonna actually just, okay. So make it so it's easier to see. So it's really like a hard dough, like but you have to be very gentle rolling it. Otherwise it will break. One of my favorite things to do is making masapan. My son was just engaged in February. I think I brought like 700 pieces to New York for his engagement party. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I like to cut my masapan to make them smaller, because I can have as many pieces or anybody. But once you make larger, if somebody takes a bite and it's not what they don't like it, then we toss it, it's picado, really, which I've seen.
How long was the log?
The log, you can make it as long, but I use like a piece like this. I started with this, and I'm gently rolling it, because it can break easily. You can just, in fact, this is breaking right now, right there, it's breaking. So I'll just break it before, so really, this is, you can make it as thick as, in fact, if somebody wants it, just, they can roll it just for a few seconds and make them really much larger. I don't like that. I like them a little smaller, like, I remember I made it for an event at synagogue once, and a couple of ladies were taking it from the tray, and they said, "Why are these so small?" So I'm like, okay. So when you cut them, I'm gonna get it closer. When you cut them in an angle, and if it's, see how smooth it is? I don't know if you can tell, it's really like completely like a smooth cut. There's no grain at all, just super clean. If you don't process it as long, it's gonna come out greeny. Also, if your knife isn't really clean, then it also makes, it's a messy cut. So now I'm gonna cut some more. Then when I cut them, we'll see, then I'd say when we get there, you can, usually I take a big knife and I start from either the tip or the end, and I move to the other end. So the part that's clean. And once that's all done, then I wipe it with a wet towel. And then you can take the leftovers, obviously, and roll them again, the tips, the end and the, so there they are. One bag of the 8 ounce makes about, this is what I took the picture of for the flyer. Actually, there were another piece that, wouldn't fit here. So but really, you could serve about 8 to 10 people, even, at your dinner or lunch table. So you don't need that much for even a larger event. For events that at synagogue or bar mitzvahs that we had about 300 to 400 people, I think I made like 6 or 7 of these bags and was plenty. Although we had other desserts, obviously. Okay, so it's getting a little sticky. So really, I'm going to use my wet towel and clean it. It's better if your towel is hot, but this works just fine. So, okay. Yeah, that's much better. Do we know if we are all on the same page? Can you tell, Carol?
Yeah, it seems like everyone is following along. I have a few other questions.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
How long are the cuts?
How long? Okay, let's say. I would say 1 inch. It's a diamond shape. So really you can make it more square. I mean, you can make it any shape you want, but this is about 1 inch,
Right.
So.
And then the next question. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
And there's a question, given that it has an uncooked egg yolk, how do you store it?
Okay. First, it doesn't have egg yolk, it's egg white, which makes a huge difference. Usually the problem with egg, well, I refrigerate or freeze it. It's never out of refrigerator or frozen. Or freezer. I don't leave it out for sure. But let me just, this is the thing. Egg white is where most of the problem with egg comes from. Egg yolk, I'm sorry. Egg white isn't usually a problem, but either way, it's always refrigerated or frozen. Now, if you are vegan and you don't eat egg, you can substitute the egg white with 1 tablespoon honey, but it makes your masapan a little sticky and harder to work with, and a couple tablespoons of water. You can actually just use water, like 3-4 tablespoons. You just add as you, as needed, but it doesn't hold as well and it doesn't cut as well. But if you need to, if you don't want to use egg, you could do that. Now, I have a silicone mold, which I'm gonna take out. If you want it a little fancier, which I used, when I made my flyer, I made a little flower shape. So if you want to have a little fancier, not so traditional, you can take a little bowl of masapan. Actually, this is too much, because really these molds are usually a little larger than you would want, your portion of masapan serving to be. So you make a little bowl, and then I kind of just put it in my mold and gently push it in. Not too much, because you don't want it to stick where it won't come out. And usually I just put it in halfways, because really if you come all the way to the top, it's too much. And then you gently squeeze it out. You have to be careful not to kind of mess up the shape. So there you go. We have a little flower, which would be nice on a platter. And now, different way of decorating it, which that's the fun part. And there we go. So anyways, we have dragé, interestingly enough, kosher, but not edible, it says, which I don't understand that, but okay.
Jamila, that wasn't so clear, the label. Could you kind of move it a little away from the camera so everyone can see that?
I can't see it myself. Where's my... What happened to my... Okay, okay. The brand is O'' cream, O cream. Can you see it? I bought these on Amazon. It wasn't easy to find kosher dragé at one time, but now there are some, but I got this on Amazon, and that's the hechsher right there. I don't know if you can see it.
What is dragé? Can you spell that?
Dragé is like edible beads.
Oh, okay.
It's very old fashioned, like in 60s, and like when David was bar mitzvah, probably you know, lots of people that age. The ladies at synagogue always had a dragé on their mazapan. Not that they had dragé on mazapan, it was always silver, okay? So when David's mom, my husband, my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, wanted to use gold, the ladies were upset. They're like, what? We have never heard of anybody using gold. So anyways, they're a little smaller than I would like, but you know, but they make pretty, like I put them on these, the silver and gold, kind of pretty. I know it's old fashioned, but it makes it kind of festive for occasion. So you just, you know, you can put your dragé in the middle of your marzipan like this. I know it's hard to tell. Or you put it on your flour. Although this is not edible, I don't know it's suitable for children because I don't know if it's not edible because they're hard or they're not edible because it's not good for you. I don't, the ingredients they look edible, but okay. So that's that. You can decorate it that way, it will look nice on a platter. Another thing I did for my son's engagement party, I bought edible gold kind of powder and I brushed it with a paintbrush on my mazapan. Actually, it's very hard to translate it to a screen, but in person it looked really pretty. They had a pearlized gold sheen. It's a little work to take each one and paint them, but the end result is worth it. If you kind of brush it, and it's really pretty. It has a really pearlized sheen. I also have it in silver. I don't think you can tell on screen, but it really looks pretty. Especially if you would put a dragé on top of that, that would be even.
Jamila?
Yes.
We have a couple questions.
Yes.
One is, can they be dipped in chocolate?
Yes. I'm melting chocolate right here. It's a little messy, and I tried it a few times, and I finally realized that your chocolate has to be not super soft and super hot, then it gets really messy. But yes.
Okay, and then someone was.
Let me get the ones I just dipped this morning, but I'm going to show you.
Okay, and then also someone was wondering if you could show another rope, like how to make the diamond cuts again.
Yes, for sure I'll do that. Yes, yes. Especially now this is ready to go. It's cooled down. So I am going to dip some in chocolate. Another one, this is a Moroccan way of doing it. Obviously, you take majul date and you stuff it with marzipan, which is delicious. So I'm going to show you if I dip the chocolate, and I'll cut some. It's looking messy here. I'm not used to that work area. So you put this away so I can have some room here. Okay. I'm going to cut some more. Yes, here we go. Before
Jamila, can you lower the screen so people can see what you're doing there, please?
Yes, I'm going to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me do that. So you cut a piece. As I said, the smaller the better because it's just, you know, easier to work with. It doesn't break. But really, that amount of the ingredients is simple and really almost foolproof. Except today that my egg would, to be honest with you, my eggs were a little old, so the egg white was a little thicker than it should be. That's what happened. I haven't bought egg in weeks. So these I probably will have to use in baking when I use it. So you kind of gently roll it. I want to get these out of the way so you can see better. Okay. You may see a teeny little cracks, you know, it's really okay. Like little cracks. Once you cut them, they kind of, you can push it together a little bit. This is where it makes a difference when your almond is really powdered. You see a lot less crack. If you use almond flour, it won't work as well. Okay, so this portion of my knife is a little sticky, so I just clean it. And you start cutting it. I want to show you like a clean cut. And I'm going to use this part of my knife, which is clean.
And someone contact you offline?
Okay. Well, Jamila, maybe when you're done or someone can contact you offline, there's a question about making a spreadable kind called sharopi.
Yes. I believe sharopi, you make a syrup. I'm not 100% sure. I believe you make a syrup, like a sugar and water, and mix it with it. And, you know, David talks about sharopi all the time. And I haven't seen a recipe in any of the cookbooks. But I believe somebody like a few years ago emailed me a recipe. I have to go back. I'm not 100% sure. So I don't want to say something that I don't know about.
And then can you repeat the ingredients that you would substitute to make them vegetarian?
Yes. Honey, like a tablespoon.
And how much? And how much?
1 tablespoon of honey and 2 tablespoons of water. But if honey can make it harder because it's sticky. When we put honey in there to make challah, usually it gets stickier. Then really you can just use 3 tablespoons of water, and then you process it. And if depending on if it's harder, it's not making a ball, just add like, you know, like half a teaspoon at a time to make sure you don't want it to be too wet. It's going to be very hard to.
And then someone commented, what if you can't, apparently vegans don't use honey. Is there something you can use besides
just water?
honey?
Water.
Just water, okay.
You know, some people use corn syrup. I would rather to use water than corn syrup. So water would do, yes. It's, as I said, the texture is a little different, but it's you can do it, yes. It's not the same. It doesn't hold, you know, it gets dry out as well if it's left, because water can evaporate a little bit and it makes it dry. But if you freeze it, I like actually to make my masapan and then freeze it really, because it's always better and moisture when it's thawed and defrosted. So I always make it, cut it actually. And as I said, I can cut it and put it in trays and freeze it and pull it out when I need to serve it. But water, if you make it with water, you really need to freeze it to keep that moisture. Otherwise it gets dried out. That's the only thing. So now dipping it in chocolate, that gets a little tricky. Let me, I have my plate with my parchment paper lined up, and my chocolate is, put this aside. So let's see, this is sort of as we go, let's see how it turns out. I've used little tongues before, it didn't work. So really you have to use your fingers and make sure you don't burn yourself. So you take your marzipan and your, you know, I boiled water, kind of simmer my chocolate in a bowl over the simmering water, and it melts beautifully. And well, this is a dairy. I mean, has milk in it, so it's gonna be not par anymore, but you just take the tip. I usually just dip it, just the tip or halfways into chocolate. And you just want to make sure you kind of clean it so you don't have that too much thick chocolate. and then you put it on your parchment paper gently and then you refrigerate it right after you're done, because really then it sits beautifully. So take a little bit, dip just the tip, and you can use your spoon just to get rid of the extra chocolate, and make sure that is kind of a clean dip. Let me show you. This part, there it is. And it will dry out, and then, I had few done earlier, when it's dried out, it's like this. And so do a couple more. The larger your pieces, the easier to dip in chocolate, that's for sure. Really, Masapan is such a kind of easy.
Right.
And you can do so much with it.
Jamila, what kind of chocolate works?
Any chocolate, any chocolate. I mean, usually I have a part chocolate, but I haven't really bought chocolate in a long time. So this was from Trader Joe's. It's new one. I liked the pieces. It's a really good quality, but it's dairy, unfortunately. So, but any chocolate, really, any chocolate. I just like this dark chocolate look better with Masapan. It's like black and white look. It's kind of a, and you refrigerate it for half hour and it's ready to go. And if you want something fancier, you can chop pistachio really fine. Then when your chocolate is a little dry, dip it in pistachio, and that's even prettier. So it'll be green and brown, and I've done that too. So that's your chocolate dipped marzipan. And you can do so much with marzipan, really. You can just, now I'll show you when you can stuff your dates, medjool dates. So you take your dates. I didn't have dates, I couldn't find the good dates, and my friend Debbie Barber dropped off a bag. It's an Israeli medjool date. They're a little dry, but they're, they do the job. So now you take a piece of marzipan, and roll it very, you don't even have to roll it. You can just take a piece and an oblong shape, and then stuff your, what happened to it? Your date with it, stuff it, and kind of put it together. Some people dip it in coconut powder, but I just like it the way it is. And, you can just arrange them in a little platter. And it's a versatile dessert. There's so much you can do. You can stuff your cookies. In Iran, we have like a tart dough that you make a cookie, and the inside its filling is all marzipan. So much you can do. That's pretty much it. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead, please. And
Jamila, so before we head into that, first of all, everyone says thank you. They look so pretty. Everything looks wonderful. And I just wanted to let people know that, because maybe not everyone was on at the beginning, that we're continuing our cooking classes from Ezra Bessaroth, which is a wonderful Wriothesley congregation in Seattle, Washington. And we had started cooking classes in person in like January and February. And then of course we had the pandemic. And so the Ladies Auxiliary decided to continue with the cooking classes online. And we thank Jamila for hosting our first one. And I do want to announce that on October 18th, Linda Capilouto is going to be making carne bit, which is fried cauliflower. We're not sure of the time yet, but it'll be sent out in a future flyer, so keep your eye open for that. And also you can check the EB Facebook page and the Ezra Bessaroth website for the flyers, and Jamila's flyers on there with the recipe as well. And of course, once we're allowed back in person, We would love everyone to please come bake with the ladies in the Ezra Bessaroth kitchen. It's always a wonderful experience, and you can learn so much from them, and they can always use the help. So all of those reasons are good ones to come to Ezra Bessaroth once we're reopen and cook with our wonderful Ladies Auxiliary. Thank you so much, Jamila.
Great, my pleasure, really. This is fun. It's like a party. I mean, it would be much better in person. God willing, we'll be able to do that soon. But, you know, next best thing. It's great. Great to see everyone. Any questions? Any or?
No, just a lot of thank yous in the chat, Jamila. Thank you so much.
I hope you make masapan. I always have it in my freezer. It's great. You can use so many different, you know.
And someone does want to know that if you bake them, how long and at what temperature?
Bake them.
You will bake them like a cookie?
I guess that's the question, is just if we want to bake them, how long and at what temperature?
You know, I mean, I have never baked cookies with them. Usually if I make cookie, I don't process it as fine. It's a little chunkier. But, and then if you bake them, really you want to beat your egg white to a, you know, like a soft peak actually, you know, and then mix it with an egg white that's already beat, not, you know. So really it would be a different way of preparing it to bake it. But I would imagine you can make cookie and put maybe a sliver of almond on it and bake it really for 15, 20 minutes on probably 300, 350. You just want to make sure it doesn't burn. But I make almond cookies, but a different way. It's the same kind of, you know, but your egg white really needs to be, you know, beat separately. Probably to a, not even a soft peak, more like a, you know. So anyways, I have never done it. So to be honest, I don't know. It's a different way of, you know, preparing it. But if somebody's not, if one isn't comfortable with egg yolk, I mean, I'm sorry, egg white that's not cooked, although I made it for 25 years, I make it all the time. You want your egg white to be fresh. You know, if you buy it like a couple days before, mine really was old, so that's why it was a little thicker. Anyways, unless you're vegan, you don't want to eat egg white. I've never had problems with it, so anyways, so that's that.
What if the egg is too big and it gets too moist? What do you add in place?
Okay, that's another thing. Yes, that can be a problem. I've tried to actually to sort of cut like take a part of the egg white. I know it's very hard to do. Egg white usually comes, but usually that's what I do. Otherwise, you will have to add more. It would be hard actually to add afterwards. So really, if your egg white your egg is extra large, you just start with a little more of your almonds. Probably because if you take the 8 ounce and put it in a cup, it translates to 2 cups of slivered almonds, raw slivered almonds. So I would use 2 1/4 cup. You know.
And Jamila, have you ever used meringue powder? Someone is asking.
No, I have not. No. This is pretty much how I've made it forever, and it works and it's easy. It's easy and it's nice to have these discs into your freezer. I hope I put a whole bunch of them in a Ziploc bag and, you know, use it as you need it. Easy dessert, great with tea and coffee, you know. Yeah, I've made my Rosh Hashanah chalot with these, stuff them. It's my family's favorite challah in Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
How do you make that with challah?
I roll my dough, and then, you know, I make it a little softer. You know, I use 1 1/2 egg white. Usually I make like 2 recipes. So instead of 2 egg white, I use 3 egg whites for 2 recipes. So it's easier, it's spreadable. And then I my dough, and you make a coil or, you know, or a bun. And then when you cut it, it's in there. It's delicious. It's our favorite Rosh Hashanah challah, Masapan. So, yeah. Good time.
So much.
Make your Masapan challah.
Thank you so much, Jamila. Does anyone have any other questions before we end the Zoom?
Thanks, Amelie.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I hope you make your
Thank
masapan.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thanks,
Oh,
Mom.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody from out of town for logging in. So nice.
This was nice.
Beth?
Were my kids on? I didn't see them.
Yes.
Pero, Jordan,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
They're on.
I saw Jordan.
on.
I
just
saw
want-
Jordan on the camera and Alex's name, so I don't know if
Alex-
that's
Alex
his
and
name.
Ellie, my
Alex
future
said his-
daughter-in-law.
Alex said Masapan with challah is his favorite. He likes it.
Alex texted her.
That's cute.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
That was great.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was fun. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'll stop recording so you guys can chat if you want. Recording.
Excellent.